Hey everybody, time for an excellent mission. Some of you had wondered if I would ever actually need to build an Egyptian base, and the answer is yes, right here, right now. This mission still has enough special twists to be interesting though. Tricky too.
North of here, a great tamarisk tree grows from the riverbank. In its trunk, we will find the head of Osiris.
Chiron! Soldiers approach!
First twist, we get to use all these fun Norse units.
I am Njordseer. We're following the One-Eye. We've tracked him all the way from Midgard.
The One-Eye? Gargarensis? The Cyclops?
Aye, he has united the giants, up north. Much of Midgard now lies in ruin. We were sent to follow him in hopes of preventing Ragnarok.
Ragnarok?
The end of the world. Have you seen the One-Eye?
He is here. We are fighting against him as well. Will you join us?
We will.
There's tons of stuff to do, so I'd better get moving. Second twist, we're nomads. Not only do we start with no base, but the resources on this map are really spread out, so we have to wander around finding them and hunting them.
Welcome to our camp, noble.
Alright, now I've got a base. Monument for favor, villagers off exploring, and train more villagers. You can see I start with almost no food, but I can buy a bunch at the marketplace with my excess gold. I'd better get my troops moving too. Never waste your starting guys on guard duty. These ox carts which you've seen are very useful Norse units. They function kind of like combined granary, mining camp, drop sites. You can drop off anything at them, and they can do resource upgrades too. I'm going to need an actual granary too though, so I can get a unique Egyptian research done. And of course I need an armory to age up. It's a bit of a hassle to manage all your peasants on this mission, because you need a bunch and you also need to keep them moving around the map. Just as a reminder, no matter how tempting it is, never, ever farm. Okay, third twist coming up, mummies. There are several temples on this map that spawn them over time. It says they also fight Gargarensis, but that's a complete lie. They only fight you. It's smart to seek out and destroy their temples before serious raiding begins. Especially since the temples give you a ton of gold when you kill them. I reserved enough gold to preemptively train some priests. Gargarensis has an outpost here, but you can slip on by with minimal damage. Chiron should run a little bit further south, because there's a valuable relic down there, plus his pierce damage is pretty worthless against buildings anyway. There's not really enough animals on the map to justify more villagers hunting, so we'll have the new guys go get wood instead. There aren't many trees either though. Remember that this Ankh of Ra relic generates free favor. Very useful for the Egyptians in particular. You want Chiron pressed in close when the temple goes down because it'll spawn some scarabs. I'm also going to micro my human units to make sure none of them die. Not even the worthless little axemen. I have a major shortage of hack damage and I don't want to make it worse. Plus, losing a guy to a worthless unit like a scarab would just be humiliating. Don't forget about their damaging blood on death, of course. The damage is pitiful, but it could finish off somebody injured. Next order of business, Chiron needs to tank the towers. That way all these injured guys can sneak on by. Having only one hero for these missions really makes them substantially harder. I think I heard my pharaoh spawn, so I better find him and put him to work. And I now have enough favor to get the Flood of the Nile upgrade, which gives me a free food trickle. Very useful for a mission where I need so much food and have so little of it around. Now that I can afford them, I want more priests too. You can see that I got a huge 1,500 gold bounty from that temple. Njordseer is a very bad influence. Chiron spent all of 5 minutes around him and now he's raiding tombs for money. Priests are unusually useful in this mission. For one thing, you have to do a lot of healing. Secondly, there's lots of enemy myth units and you don't have many other heroes to help out. Plus, of course, you have tons of gold to spare, but not much else. The giraffe should be nearly finished by now, so next up I know where I can find a couple of crocodiles for my villagers to hunt. Don't forget to have Chiron actually drop off the relic so you get the benefit of it. Now I'll just make a pit stop with all these priests for a minute or so and then be good to go. And then I can go wreck the second temple, which is much closer nearby to the east. In the meantime, my armory has finished, so I'm going to use the marketplace to buy enough food to age up, and then I'll advance with... Both can work, but I think I'll actually go with Nephthys. I won't have enough favor to build enough Petsuchos to outweigh ancestors. I'll also want most of my gold for other things. Also, both Scorpion Men and Ancestors minions have hack damage, unlike Petsuchos. Alright, everybody's just about healed up, so now it's time to go. Elephants over here are a massive, wonderful food source, but I don't start with them because they fight pretty hard and I don't have enough initial villagers to take them down safely. I think I have enough villagers to make more economic upgrades worthwhile now. At this point I'm kind of waiting on the age upgrade. Once that finishes, there's a bunch of important things I can do. It's time for a fairly big shake-up in who's gathering what. A lot of my former woodcutters will now be assigned to hunt these elephants, and a lot of my former hunters will now be gathering wood or getting gold. Just one of the necessities of this nomadic kind of map. Now that I have a truckload of priests, I can have them trivially finish off these scarabs. That should save me a few seconds overall because I won't need to stop and heal a bunch of people up after that acid blood attack. Alright, I aged up. First order of business, hunt those elephants. And over here I can build a town center. Wanting to do that to double my villager output is a big reason for my setup in this mission. Now I can build the siege works and have the pharaoh help out to get that done faster. He'll also help train some much needed siege towers. My army needs to head north now. No time to waste. Gargarensis actually has several small bases, one of which you can take out fairly easily. That will reduce the number of attacks he sends at you later. The third thing to build is a Migdal stronghold for some useful chariot archers. A few more priests too, can't have too many. One of the big remaining challenges is that I can't predict where or when Gargarensis will send his raids. Ooh, town center done. Better have it train some more villagers quickly. Be careful how you engage these troops. You don't want to get your guys aggroed into his towers. He has plenty of those on the map, and that's why I'm building siege towers. Anyway, enemy troops could show up just about anywhere any second now. With a little bit of micro though, my base defenses alone can defeat his first wave. Aha, there they are, okay. Once again I'm going to hang back a little bit so I don't get lured into tower range. He's got terrible Egyptian troops, so this should be an easy battle. At worst I'll lose like an axeman or something unimportant like that. Nothing to worry about. Need to keep my economy organized, I kinda slipped up on that mid-battle. Then I've got to bring up my siege towers to finally make progress here safely. When I had some melee heroes in the party, and especially Arcantos, I never had to be careful like this. I'll need a third siege tower for a different objective closer to the center of the map. Don't want to wait on their terrible walking speed. As a post-commentary note, I started getting sloppy at this point. I just had too many villagers too spread out and too many different objectives in mind. As I've mentioned before, chariot archers train extremely quickly, so you only really need one Migdal stronghold to build an army of them. Now in hindsight I made kind of a dubious decision here to stand guard over the siege towers, instead of pressing on toward the main objective. Half the time, the enemy sends another attack there and makes that worthwhile. Destroying this temple and barracks here means fewer troops will be coming at you later. It is also possible to win faster in the classical age. But people had been asking for me to slow down a little bit and show off some Egyptian base building, so I thought that was worthwhile one time. Yep, okay, here come the reinforcements. I'll just wipe out that temple and barracks, and then I can get started toward the main objective. You know, I didn't make time to talk about the other Norse units earlier. The quick ones are raiding cavalry. As the name suggests, they're kind of light, cheap, very fast cavalry, infamous for being good at killing villagers in multiplayer, but they're not much for a fight, so you won't see me build many of them. These northeast siege towers are now pretty useless. I'll send them toward the main area, hoping they'll maybe, scratch an enemy tower, but nothing important left for them to do. Okay, it is past time to get grouped up. Taking a few seconds to organize your army before the battle can save you a lot of time overall. It's time to start moving villagers in too. I'll need lots and lots of them. That's why I built 2 town centers, of course, and took some time to build up. Rushing in toward the central tree faster doesn't really help you that much because you don't have enough villagers to cut the thing down fast at that point. Okay, so besides raiding cavalry, which are arguably the most useful cavalry unit in multiplayer, the other Norse unit here is the Jarl. Jarls, in contrast, are super slow, heavy, expensive cavalry. The word referred to Viking noblemen, basically. And it's actually the same root as our English word earl. The Vikings didn't really have detailed different ranks of nobility though. It's past time to start marching in my villagers. They walk very slowly and have to come from several places after all. Everybody else needs to start fighting and make sure the place is cleared out when they get there. The objective here is to chop down that tamarisk tree. That ends the chapter. Sadly, the special woodcutting upgrade that lets you chop down trees in one hit doesn't work on it. The biggest nuisance in all this battle is the large number of northern towers. I'll spawn my ancestors as cover to try to get my siege tower in there to tear them down. The cramped space and massive number of unit types, plus needing to stay out of tower range, makes this battle very hard to manage. That the enemy summons a bunch of snakes in the middle doesn't make it easier either. Plague of Serpents remains just the trashiest, most worthless god power, but it does distract fire in the middle of that battle. There's really no excuse though, I could have fought this much more elegantly. Oh well, at this point nothing to do will really change how fast I win. I choose to suffer some casualties here just trying to focus down the towers fast, because otherwise they will just keep aggroing my guys into their range and I'll lose even more over time. If you're trying to win as fast as possible in the classical age, by the way, what you really need are a lot of spearmen backed up by some priests. The spearmen will take down the towers much easier than these guys will. By the way, this mission does actually have its origins in a myth. In many versions of the Osiris myth, Set actually kind of kills Osiris twice. The first time he just drowns him in that trapped coffin. And apparently Isis says nothing about this for so long that the coffin floats down the Nile, gets to the city of Byblos in Lebanon, which by the way is one of the oldest cities in the whole world, and then like a tree grows around it, a big tamarisk tree, and then some random king builds a palace with that tree as a support pillar. But none of that matters at all, because Isis just then kind of shows up and takes her husband back without hurting the palace. That story is even more pointless though, because once Isis gets back to Egypt, Set immediately steals the body and destroys it and chops it up into a bunch of pieces, and that part of the myth begins. As a post-commentary note, somewhere or other, I got the idea that you can only fit 30 peasants around the tree, but that's totally false. I could have saved a lot of time if I hadn't remembered that wrongly. As a historical footnote, by the way, this is completely the wrong time period, but Vikings actually did reach the Mediterranean and Africa several times. In one of my favorite quasi-historical incidents, one ambitious Viking fleet plundered northern Africa for a while on their way to try to sack Rome. Unfortunately, they mistook a much smaller city for it. They sacked the place by the hilarious and well-attested stratagem of pretending their chief was dead and asking permission to have him buried in the city. At the funeral, he jumped up in his coffin and he and his honor guard killed the town's magistrates and then fought their way to open the city gates. Anyway, I like the beginning of this chapter very much, but the ending just kind of drags on and on, as you can see. I could have saved a lot of time if I'd played the second half more elegantly, but I suppose I did still finish in about 1/3 the usual time for most videos of this mission. My opening strategy was particularly well executed, but the way I finished it could have been done much more efficiently. Alright, the tree is down, so that's a win. Hope you all enjoyed that. Have a great day, everyone!